One way of describing meditation is, as meditation practice, is allowing the mind to do it at once. So not being captured by the objects of consciousness, the sensations, the feelings, the thinking. And by making a space for them, the background, which is the space itself, starts to become more into the foreground. The more the space of the larger mind is present, the less we're captured and the less we collapse into our subjective states. We don't collapse into the thinking and the psychological arousal of the thinking. So one way to characterize, and you've heard me say this, the aware self or the awakened mind is that it is simultaneously focused, sensations are precise, perceptions are precise, but you're not so absorbed in them that you lose the sense of spaciousness. So the mind is spacious and focused at the same time. And just for a few breaths now, or a few practices, what I'm going to do is hit this bell. And when you hear the bell, focus on the sound. And as the sound fades, bring the sensation of the air in your nose as you breathe into really sharp focus. Okay. And as the sound of the bell recedes, and you're bringing the perception, the sensation of the air in your nose into focus as you breathe, as the sound becomes absent, let your whole awareness expand to try to continue to hear the sound. So hear it after it disappears. See what happens. Soft gaze, eyes just slightly open. Bring something into very clear perception, visual perception. Then let that go soft and take in your peripheral vision. Now listen. And with the sound of the bell, hear it vividly. And as it fades, replace the disappearing sound with precise perception of the breath moving through your nose. As the sound disappears, become aware of the mind that heard the sound. And as the sound disappears, keep listening for the sound everywhere. At the same time as bringing the sensation in your nose into precise focus. It's arbitrary that we're using the sensation of the breathing in the nose. It's just a choice for now. Vivid perception of the sensation in your nose. All your senses extending. Listening for the sound you can't hear any longer. Spacious mind. So just explore. Sometimes, as the sound is disappearing, bringing the sensation of your breath into vivid focus. The next time, as the sound is disappearing, becoming aware of the part of you that's hearing it, becoming more and more and more listening, spacious. Listening for the sound that you can't hear once the sound has disappeared. And then combining that, the breathing becomes vividly present, focused, and the mind is expansive. The eyes are soft, peripheral vision. Sounds come from beyond the room as well as within the room. There is a valid analogy between developing the muscle of attention, that is the ability to bring a specific sensation into the foreground of awareness while also keeping the mind expansive, keeping awareness limitless. That kind of exercise, the muscle of focused, spacious awareness, can be practiced in a sequence the same way we would practice lifting a weight and building muscle strength by a certain number of repetitions of the exercise. A certain number of repetitions in which you bring your consciousness fully into the muscles that you're using, and then at a certain point put the weight down and go into relaxation and recovery. So what I want to suggest to you is that in addition to a practice where you sit for perhaps 24 minutes, which is 1/60th of a day, that there is a daily practice intermittently throughout the day in which for 10 breaths you bring the sensation of your breath, or an aspect of the sensation of your breath, you bring that into the foreground. And as you do it, you consciously extend your hearing, you consciously soften your gaze and extend it to peripheral vision as well, and you just imagine the limitless nature of mind. You intuit the limitless nature of mind. Big mind. And you do that for 10 breaths. And it is quite a long time tradition, not only to observe the breath as an object for meditation practice, but also to count the breath. That is, to do sequences. It's very, very important in body muscle strength building to know exactly how many repetitions you're going to do, and with what level of resistance, what level of weight. Because you train endurance by large numbers of repetitions, and you train strength by small numbers of repetitions with higher weight. So with this exercise, we're going to count 10 breaths. And this is going to be a practice that I hope that you'll use throughout the day. For 10 breaths, your sensual, immediate experience and your breath will come into the foreground. Your mind will become open, spacious, and the thinking and the psychological arousal, the emotional arousal of the thinking, for 10 breaths will gradually recede into the background. So there'll be a foreground-background exchange. You'll leave the little self, the me, the ego I, with its thinking and psychological arousal, with what's created by the thinking, and you'll come right to 10 breaths. Really focused, spacious breaths. So how do you count 10 breaths and not make the counting the object? Because we don't want the numbers, the counting, to be the object. So the way that I've explored this is to wait to the very last moment of exhalation, and then in that moment think 1. And then be fully present to the sensation of the breath, spacious, and at the end of the next exhalation, 2. So it's not something like this where you're going, okay, this is the first breath, 1, 2, 3. So you're not letting the mind turn an abstract concept, a number, into the object. What we want is an object that is immediate, real, a sensation. So the number needs to be very brief, and you just explore that now in sequences of 10 breaths. Vivid focus on an aspect of the breath, big mind, soft eyes, peripheral vision. 1. 2. 3. Let the breathing go at its own natural pace. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. After 10 breaths, just like the weightlifter putting the weight down, or the surfer kicking out of the wave, or the skier coming to a relax at the bottom of the slope or a point of rest on the slope, for a little while, be here now. If the mind wants to drift, don't fight it. If thoughts want to come and capture you, don't struggle with them. Go with them if that's what happens. But at a certain point, choose to be focused and spacious for 10 more breaths. A real commitment. The same way a person who's really doing exercise will pick up the weights and do the next set of 10. They're not going to stop at 3. They're not going to stop at 7. They're going to do 10. So sequences of 10 with just a letting go, spaciousness, whatever the mind wants to do. And then another sequence of 10. And we're going to continue this now for 24 minutes in bursts or sequences of 10 breaths. Eyes softly open, peripheral vision.